to record these things. All right, cool. I want to jump in really quickly, thanks to some of the feedback I got from our boy Pete Peterson. And I just wanted to jump in and go over the, where is it right now? I wanted to go over very quickly the core syllabus so you just have an idea of where I'm going with y'all. Um, Essentially, the goal of this entire class is for you to create a joy revolution that goes and affects one person or affects thousands, even millions of people. It's how you want to envision this and the way that we're going to go forward. So that is the end goal of all these classes. It's not just here to make you feel smarter, you know? So essentially, when it comes to your joy revolution, what we're going to work on together is you making a declaration of what your joy revolution is, you coming up with the next steps, your commitment. What are you going to do to bring it alive? And then also, who are you going to enroll in your joy revolution, right? And so essentially, this is the way that the class is going to go. I'm going to have 3 classes, right? Here we go. There's our schedule. Okay, I'm going to have 3 classes. That's not the one I wanted to show you, but I'm going to have 3 classes. Last week was about joy. This week is about revolution. Next week is about creativity. And the week after that, after 3 classes, we're going to have a one-on-one, we're going to have one-on-one coaching sessions with me, right? And also I've got a whole bunch of like co-working spaces that we can go and create together, be in community while we're doing that. I'm going to do 3 more classes, which talk about how do we move forward with our joy revolution when there is no joy, right? And then we're going to have another break where we can do one-on-ones and co-working sessions. And then after that, we're going to go and present our findings, our revolutions. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over this like more. I'm going to record this orientation for you so you can go through it and I can walk you through the exact course if that makes sense to you. But
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about today, I got to tell you all, like I was so excited today to see you. Like I so couldn't wait for this. So what we're going to do today is talk about what a revolution looks like. Specifically a revolution that is created in joy, right? So I'm going to share where I'm at with y'all. Can you see that, y'all?
Yeah. Now we can.
You can? Okay.
Oh, wait, now it went away. Seeing a gray screen.
Mm.
Mhm.
See if I can get this to work.
Oh,
Come
thank
on,
you.
that's what dress rehearsals for.
It came when you were looking down, the images came up and then they flipped away.
Oh, it did?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
Right
I can
there?
see it here,
Okay.
but small.
Now
Yeah.
you have a whiteboard and a graphics, and then they all graphic expanded and everything went away again.
Hmm. I
When
don't
it
know why.
expands, it goes away. You're looking down and things are happening.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. We're all in it together, my friends. Okay, let me see if I can just open this manually.
Hmm.
Um, why is that not working? Sorry, y'all. Can you see
It's like you stopped sharing.
all together? So it's
Oh,
getting
now,
worse, is what you're saying.
Oh, the sharing itself, maybe. No, I don't know what
No?
happened. But
Okay.
the
yeah, I don't
sharing
think it's
is
same
not
screen
showing.
now.
Give me 1 second to reboot this really quickly.
And Cheryl, can you remind me where you are?
In Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh,
Yeah, just
you
kind of
guys,
outside of Manhattan.
okay. And Peter, you're up north as well, right? East Coast?
I'm near Sacramento.
Oh no, West Coast. Okay.
Yes.
What about you, Anna?
North Carolina.
Where in North Carolina?
Charlotte?
Okay. Oh, okay. I have a friend there.
I really like it. We moved here maybe 11 years ago. So quite a while, but we love it. I like the seasons really. I love the seasons, but they're not too intense. So for me, that's perfect.
Right. Where did you come from?
I grew up in Puerto Rico, so spent all my childhood there, came to the United States for college. Spent time in the New England area, so Rhode Island and Boston. So that was quite a change for sure from a tropical island.
There you go.
Yeah, you're all set.
Bonus points for everybody for like using this opportunity as an icebreaker. +1, +1, +1, +1. Okay, so we're going to be talking about revolutions today. We're going to be talking about not only standard revolutions, but what a joy revolution looks like, right? And so with that, oh, check that out, me and my pops, right? With that, just wanted to go through what the purpose, the outcomes of the joy revolution is. And it's this: to transform your personal joy into a catalyst of meaningful social change through creative expression and collective empowerment. I hope that when you're reading this, you can see joy, creativity, and social change, right? That's all I'm going to be saying the entire time is joy, creativity, and social change. So today we're going to be looking at revolutions, and specifically Revolutions Reimagined, understanding the dynamics of revolutions and how joy in a revolution can be a dynamic force to create positive change. We're going to be talking about all things revolution today, right? I'm going to show you an example at the very end. We're going to be talking about revolution methodology. Sound better there? Sound better, Pete?
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to start this every single time with this quote. Quote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city, you go to the desperate country and have to console yourselves with the bravery of minks and muskrats. A stereotyped but unconscious despair is concealed even under what are called the games and amusements of mankind. There is no play in them, for this comes after work. But it is characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things." Unquote. Henry David Thoreau. I'd like to call that maybe an existing norm today. I feel like that's a big reason why we're creating joy revolutions. If we already feel like we're in joy, maybe some of the people around you are living in quiet desperation, right? So just to recap, last week we had Epicurus, who talked about happiness. It's all here in front of you. Perdana, since were the first to arrive today, tell me what you remember about what Epicurus was talking about when it came to happiness last week.
Okay, so for Epicurus, we're talking about something that we also call hedonism,
Good. Yeah.
where being in the moment, momentary pleasures, the type of pleasures, things that make you feel good in the moment, but don't necessarily have longevity.
Nice.
So they really support, feelings, things that promote really feelings of euphoria, but are not long lasting.
Love it. Anna, see what happens when you shake your head, Anna? Talk to me about Aristotle's viewpoint of things.
Well, I feel like you had set a high bar, Perdona. So now I'm like, but I think I remember them being more of the strivers. So those are the people that are really going to focus on long-term goals, really trying to to be happy, I need to do A and then B and then C and then, and get all these things in place. And I think the focus is really on having a meaningful life, and living. I think of it as living with a purpose, like you have a driving purpose behind what you do.
Amazing. This is why you are now valedictorian, sister. I know what's up. Okay, so let's go and talk about this idea of a revolution and a revolutionary. When you hear this term revolutionary, what do you think of? Or even how do you define that term revolutionary?
As someone who wants to change things,
Mm, good. Good. Pete, what do you got?
If yeah, it's similar. Wanting, I'm kind of blanking on it. I had this before, but it's how basically something that is changing. You want to change something in your context in what you are involved in, and you do it in a permanent way,
Mm, mm, I'm liking it.
and you become an agent of change.
You're reading my mind, bro. You're an agent of change. I want to throw this in there because these are nice and juicy definitions. When it comes to a revolutionary, does the person need to be a leader? When it comes to a revolutionary, does the person need to be the change agent?
I mean, you could be a revolutionary if you're following a leader,
Mm.
right? Like, I
How
know.
so? How so?
I don't know, just thinking about Martin Luther King Jr.,
Yep.
right? I could say he's the leader of the movement, but I would still be a revolutionary if I went marching in Alabama, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, I would still consider myself a revolutionary even if I wasn't the leader of the movement.
got it. Good. Cheryl,
I don't,
I think of you as a leader, a change agent, and a revolutionary. Um, do those things like are those things interchangeable for you in terms of the terms? Is your revolutionary side different from your leadership side? Is it different from your change agent side?
Yes. So I agree that to be a revolutionary, you have to have those two aspects, leadership and being a change agent. But there is an energy. So I understand that we're creating a new definition, but if I think about my first introduction to revolutionary, it's about war, it's
Uh-huh.
about Che Guevara, it's about, and there's an energy that goes up against the establishment and wants to dynamically do something different. Like you can be a change agent and you can do it in a more gentle, slower way, but there is an energy around, or at least in the traditional sense, I guess
Hmm.
we're going to explore, is that true? But there is something about the current is going this way and you're going to come up against it and really change things.
Nice. Good job,
mm.
Cheryl. Good job to all y'all who are throwing this in here. I wish I was like one of those professors in like law school where they just call on people randomly, right?
Yeah.
All of this super super good, right? So for the sake of the joy revolution, I needed to like contextualize things when it comes to a definition. And so this is essentially what for the joy revolution this looks like. A revolutionary is an individual or group committed to bringing about significant transformative change in a society, an organization, or a system. They challenge the status quo by identifying systemic injustices, inequalities, or outdated practices and actively work towards replacing them with new structures, ideas, or practices that better serve the collective good. Revolutionaries are often driven by a strong sense of purpose, vision, and moral conviction, and they use various strategies such as activism, education, community building, and direct action to mobilize others and achieve their goals. Their efforts are typically focused on creating a more just, equitable, and flourishing environment for all. How do you feel about that one?
Mhm.
Perdana?
I love it.
Yeah, cool.
I love it. I think you didn't spare the words, and sometimes we try to do things in sound bites, and sometimes it becomes a slogan and
Yeah.
can lose all meaning. So when you were this specific about it, you know, you have to forgive me because I often play devil's advocate, and I was
Play it.
also very interested in poetry. And as I don't write poetry, but I studied poetry. And every word matters because you cannot use a word that has connotations and denotations and make believe the connotations don't exist.
Oh my gosh, you're smart.
So, well, you know, you may change your mind later on, but okay.
Well, this isn't the non it's I didn't spare words on this one, right? I've been chewing on it the past couple years, and like this is
Yeah,
where it's at right now.
yeah.
And
And
I
it's good. I think
thank you.
it's good.
Thank you.
Also
Thank you.
English major, you know, so often, you know, the thing that impresses me the most is there, you know, there are revolutionary ideas. A
Mm,
revolutionary is not just a person. A new
Mm,
invention can be called revolutionary because it changes all of the dynamics and the systems that we had in place that we thought were good or
mm,
great or there was no other way. And suddenly we can shift and go, wow, there's a completely new way to do this. It is
mhm.
revolutionary.
Wow. That's amazing.
So when you're talking about a joy revolution, there are very few revolutions that have ever occurred in this world that it did not include violence.
Yeah.
And you probably can't even name one.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a joy revolution, that concept itself is
Mm,
revolutionary.
yeah.
mm,
Yeah. And Anna, like I think even just thinking about folks who were leading peaceful joy revolutions, it got violent still,
right,
right?
right, right.
And so that's really cool for you to pick that out. So maybe
Before you
here's
go
the
on, Mark, before you
yeah.
go on, so I agree with everything you said, Pradana, and you talked about what the energy, you said in a different way, the energy words carry. And so in alignment with also what I was saying about this energy, you've got the words challenge, you've got the words, and they're very active words about strong sense of person, moral conviction. So
Mhm.
there is this energy behind it, and it's very it's active, right? It's not they just think about this, but there's this kind of energy and action to it. So I think this is terrific.
Can I
I
actually also add now
yeah,
that I'm
keep
putting my
going.
English major hat too? I think in hearing all of this, for me, the word that maybe is missing, and feel free to disagree with me, is it asks you to be brave. You know, I think to be a
Oh
revolutionary, it
man.
takes courage, you know, and so whether you're the leader of the movement or even just again, just kind of thinking back to Martin Luther King, like even if I'm not MLK, it would take a lot of courage on my part to show up and march, right? And even if I'm not the
Yes.
leader, it calls on you to have bravery to be a part of a revolution or to be a revolutionary.
This is going to come full circle, Anna, and I just pat yourself on the back when we get to this full circle moment. All of these, y'all, my like goosebumps right now. Goosebumps. Oh, they're going down to my ankles, right? Full body goosebumps right now. Now, I'm glad that you guys are cool with this language that I used. I also wanted to collapse it down just in, within the context of a joy revolution, within a context of change, right? And so in collapsing it down, uh, this is what shows up. A revolutionary dismantles existing norms and establishes a new standard that fosters flourishing and redefines what is possible. So so not only are we taking things down, we're not taking things down for the sake of taking things down. We are able to create these new standards for more flourishing, not just our flourishing, not just me feeling good and doing good, not just you guys doing it, but truly leading a change in which we can create a new standard, right? So something that usually happens in revolutions, you guys are right. They're bloody, they're gory, someone wins, someone loses, and the new standard may be that the person that loses stays lost. And the new folks come in and they create things that work for them. What I'm asking myself and hopefully y'all to do is how can we do this without just stepping on one group and then promoting another? Because oftentimes that's what happens in revolutions. How can we recreate revolutions for everybody to flourish? And I do not care if I'm seen as Pollyanna-like. I do not care if people think that this is not possible, but I've got one, two, three, four. I've got four people in here who may be thinking about it, and that's enough. That's enough. And when these things come together, that's a big deal. So,
Uh,
what? Yeah,
I wanted to say one thing.
yeah, go for it.
I also have something to add.
Okay.
He's,
Here's what I would add. A joy revolutionary. So a typical revolutionary is one that is very moved by their own beliefs.
Yes.
Whether those beliefs are just or not, they believe them to be. They dismantle existing norms. Take the revolution 1917, the Russian Revolution. They did not foster flourishing. Sorry, they did not. A joy revolutionary has the goal of fostering flourishing and redefining what is possible with joy instead of violence.
Got it.
A typical revolutionary might think look at Castro. They were revolutionaries. Do you see Cuba flourishing in the last 60 years? I don't think so. So just add the word joy there, because you're now doing something revolutionary. You're redefining what a revolutionary is by adding the word joy.
Receiving that. Thank you. Peter Peterson, what do you got?
I just observing that somehow we seem to have defaulted down to the context of a revolutionary being a social revolutionary. Okay, and in your
Talk more about that.
definition, we're talking about organizations or systems in general. So narrowing down the definition to just one single context may, in the long run, may be less than helpful in terms of looking for new opportunities to apply it. I mean, you can have a revolution within an organization where you're not talking about political revolution.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we can't just assume that that's the default. It's not the default. I mean, I think this is a much broader concept than just social or political revolution.
I love that. And what I love about everything that y'all are throwing together is at the end of this course, does this still stand when you are enrolling people into your Joy Revolution? Is it a revolutionary that's bringing folks together and enrolling them? Or is the movement in and of itself revolutionary? And I think that's what I was getting from you, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a revolution in modern dance that can be very much a joy revolution. And
we did last cohort. There was a dancer that created something.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can have a revolution in a lot of different contexts. And so if you don't see that, then you may narrow down your goals and direction that you want to take this course.
Absolutely love it, Pete. Do you guys feel yourselves coming together, getting closer together as a result of this disconnect or this connection? I love it. This discussion. Okay, I have to give a heads up here. I did work in multicultural affairs for 8 years. After that, I was doing some work when it came to social change. I have to, if you guys know who created this model or this methodology, please tell me, or if this is just basic sociology behavior change, right? So when it comes to actually going in and dismantling existing norms, establishing a new standard that fosters flourishing for everybody, the one thing that I'm really excited about is how do we actually go and create this, right? How do we go and create these changes? Let me see if I can. Oh, here we go. Anyone here like organizational behavior, folks?
Mm-mm.
All right. So I'm going to go into the work of Lewin, who was an organizational behavior and management. And that's what he was known for, right? And so when Lewin came up and said, this is the model when it comes to change, to revolution, this is what he basically said. So let's say that this is a system. Can you guys see that? Am I a little...
Yes.
Oh, okay. So this is, oh, I know what to do. So this is what he said. He came up and he said, look, this is the current state, resting state of an organization. If we want to change this, there's a few things that we need to do. The first thing is acknowledging that we know what this is. This is the current culture, making the invisible visible. Then unfreezing this, which makes it vulnerable to be able to be changed. Then we go and apply the change. We stretch the whole system to change. Now, the thing is if we manage this incorrectly, it snaps back. So truly, what organizational change, lasting change looks like is, here it is, I'm unfreezing it to make it vulnerable, I'm stretching it, applying action to it, I'm refreezing it, and when I take my hands off of this, the whole thing stays like that, right? So there's multiple actions that occur when it comes to organizational change. Now, that's something to think about in applying your joy revolution. Now, let me get back to the slides. Are you guys looking at me or the slides?
You.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get back
You.
to these slides then, because you're going to sort of see this show up. Is it not there? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is when I worked at Emory, this is the university. This is how we would go and talk about organizational change. Number one, making the invisible visible. And already this is a courageous act. To be able to speak up and say, this is not right, or we have the potential to be even better, right? That's making the invisible visible. The second thing is creating a conscious community. Already you're enrolling people into this revolution. Hey, this is the invisible. I'm making it visible. Does anyone want to join me in this one? Can anyone champion this in groups who do not have a voice, right? The next thing after that is, now that we're a community, let's get to know the infrastructure of things, because the way that, I don't know, society, organizational culture is set up, we need to understand the infrastructure. After that, we are going to catalyze the change. And then after that, we get to pull back out and the action stays sustained, right? Okay. Y'all got me going hoarse today because of this theory. Let's go to the first act, making the invisible visible. This is where, like I just said, this is where you go and identify what's going on in an organization, and sometimes acknowledging the invisible tapestry of the way things are, right? So for example, in the university that I worked in, when you went into the president's quarters, sort of the meeting room, they had all of the other presidents from Emory in the room. Now, it was one thing, like, it was badass to get invited to go and meet with the president as a student. And he wanted to talk to me about people of color and, what were some of the needs of the people of color. Now, the thing is when I went in and I sat down in that room, all the other presidents were white, male, Christian-centric, upper class. They were looking pretty lean, right? And so in terms of the invisible that was made visible was, I needed to turn to, President Wagner and say, hey, man, like, the university is set up so that if you walk into certain spaces, it just doesn't feel totally welcoming, because I don't see people like me. I don't see people like me, and I don't even see people of color in this, or women. And so that was something in terms of making the invisible visible that happened there, right? So I want you to think through, and we're not going to have time to totally do every single step here, but I want you to think through, when given the opportunity, in looking at something like Pete, with your documentary, Anna, if you do choose to go into the Montessori system, what is the invisible that needs to be made visible? And I'm also not talking about, like, let's just make some shit up and just, like, call it. and so we can be discontent for the sake of being discontent. Truly, your ability to look through the different areas of your movement and say, this is weird. That's where the revolution starts. That's where the change starts, right? So I'm going to talk about one thing that I saw here myself. When I was younger, I wanted to be Michael Jackson. I wanted to be a rock star. And so what happened? This thing came out. Time magazine, those Asian American whiz kids. I didn't see anybody in a rock band, a Filipino American in a rock band. I just saw folks who were excelling well at, I don't know, computers. They've got a nice computer there, like the woman there holding her books. Other guy over here is holding his book bag. And so when it came to what I thought I could be, is this good kid with a cummerbund playing Suzuki music. Now, what happened years later? I ended up trying to be Michael Jackson, and it felt great. And it also felt great when it came to like Asian Americans like rocking it on a stage. And I love the fact that I could help make the visible visible when it came to just being in music for a bit. Also, I wanted to acknowledge this. I had a great metabolism back then. So, with that said, now we can go into this idea of creating this organization, bringing the movement together, being able to talk to folks, and enrolling them. Like being able to say, look, this is what's weird, and the benefits of those things would be we get to flourish on a greater level through this community, like with this community coming together now that the invisible is visible and taking action on it. So this phase is the organization phase of the movement, the organization of the stakeholders, the organization of just bringing folks together. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So that's the next piece. Let me see if I don't remember if I have a thing. Oh, yeah, cool. All right, so you guys know the underground, right? So I'm totally into this new idea of creating online communities. I think that's where we're going to start going. We're not going to devalue in-person communities, but I do think that after 2020, the need for online communities have gone crazy. So what happened here was that this woman, Bree Lever, she is one of the folks who she would probably be one of the top folks when it comes to creating online communities. What did she do to pull me in? Look, I'm launching a podcast on community. Do you want to be a part of that? Do you want to get notified and help spread the word? Also, I got this from her. I got this email that basically had me looking at like, do you know who I am? And can you share the word? Or sorry about that. I'm reading the wrong thing. In terms of sharing the podcast, this is what that was. She was enrolling me into it, right? And then something that was also interesting was she was not only enrolling me, but she was enrolling folks like Heartbeat. Heartbeat is what the underground runs on. So here's this person hitting me at different places when it comes to this thing is coming. And we're going to offer support to you with the underground. So when you're with your folks, you can just focus on teaching, right? So that's something in terms of the next step when it comes to creating the conscious community. I want you to think, okay, what is the invisible that you want to make visible? Number two, can you identify at least 3 people who you might be able to enroll in your joy revolution, right? Okay. Understanding the infrastructure. This is a huge piece that a lot of people don't truly think about. They think, hey, I'm going to go and create change in a vacuum, and then I'm going to take out the plan, and the plan is going to work. One of the biggest benefits of understanding the infrastructure is being able to understand the status quo, so then you can go and confront the status quo. I know it's very like confront, malcontent. What are these other terms? Organization of the movement, right? But also at the same time, I also wanted to use terms that social justice folks use too. So one of the examples that I have is one of my roommates a couple years ago was in charge of this campaign called Literacy Foresight that was in Atlanta. And what she did was she had a mix of students who one group came from like these migrant communities, right? The other group were sort of like non-migrant families. You know, a lot of very Caucasian kids came into this. So one of the things that happened was Annalisa understood the infrastructure. And so what she did was this punk rock sticker campaign where people were going and taking like literacy foresight stickers and like sticking them on like stop signs and stuff. It was super cool. It's very punk rock. Now, when it came to the people who were putting up the stickers, the people putting up the stickers were the non-migrant folks in the group. These were the Caucasian people in the group sticking them on the stop signs. Why would someone think about this? Why would someone have that kind of strategy?
About who's going to get arrested? The non-Caucasians will not get arrested. I mean, the Caucasians will not, yeah.
I've got wings right now and I'm hugging you in those wings, Cheryl. Absolutely. So what happened was she went and identified if folks from the migrant community went and put a sticker up, they'd probably get more punishment versus a kid who came from a Caucasian family who stuck a sticker up there who might get a slap on the wrist. And remind you that this is in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. It's not in Atlanta proper. It's in outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So there was a place outside of Atlanta where if I stepped into like I don't know, like a wings bar or something like that, records would scratch. Annalisa, thank you so much for introducing to that. Understanding the infrastructure, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely, Anna.
Understanding the infrastructure, do you also then mean understanding your audience? Both internally who your audience is that in your revolution, but also who the status quo is. Okay.
Like totally, Anna. And I'm gonna make sure that I cover that the next time I do this. It absolutely is understanding like literally the playing field. It's understanding the entire game, right? So yeah, that's a great question, Anna. So right, we go and understand the infrastructure. Now we're gonna go and we're gonna introduce the change, right? This is the 5 steps that you're going to talk about in your commitment phase of your joy revolution at the end of this course, right? Now, the status quo calls this the crisis or the escalation because why? The status quo is about to not be status quo, right? So in catalyzing the change, we're at maximum tension and we're creating the change through our action, through coming together, through understanding the infrastructure and really creating the change, right? And then finally is sustaining the action. This is the new order of things. This is the new normal. Being able to, as it says up here, refreeze this culture, right? Refreeze this after maximum tension has been created. So one of the things in grad school that I was taking a class on like social justice, and the professor goes and says, "Look, this is how social justice works, right? If you imagine that there's a group of people playing double dutch. Does everybody know what double dutch is? It's what is that called? Jump rope, right? And then people jump into the middle of the jump rope. She went and said that when you're doing social justice work, you will jump into the middle of that double dutch, right? And you're going to do what you need to do. You're going to do your dance. You're going to rock it out. And then when you get exhausted, you jump out and another person jumps in. I get it. And also at the same time, that's when I started challenging things. Is there a way where we can go and rethink, reimagine what revolutions do without us having to be burned out and bitter? Can we do this? And so here I am, 12 years later, seeing if we can do this with your revolution. Can we create a system in which change does happen? People are so inspired that no one's burning out and everyone is doing this together. So that's one of the things that I wanted you to think about second week that we're going into this. So before I go into an example, does anyone have a question out of these 5 steps? Or does anyone want to challenge these 5 steps? I'm all about challenging. Yeah, Peter, go.
Okay. No, just another observation that in thinking about what I'm going to be working on, knowing the infrastructure actually seems to play a part in making the invisible visible.
Do tell.
Because you're looking at the context and the context, looking at the context and the structure sometimes are intertwined. If you're working in a structure, that's your context. So you have to understand it in order to make the invisible visible. So I
love
don't
it.
want to
Yep.
speak. So I mean, there's a component of it's. I mean, where you have it placed now, it goes to like, how is your messaging going to work? How is your organizational structure going to be able to function? You have to know the infrastructure, but it would help to have some of that knowledge. If you're at the very outset, very beginning, you have to have some understanding of that.
I love that. So you're also talking about like a very organic system in which you're constantly, it's not linear. Right now, the way that you're describing it is like the infrastructure informs the making the invisible visible. When the visible comes forward, you can go and then move to step number 2. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's the same phenomenon that can actually show up in a couple of different steps.
I absolutely love it, man. And I'm going to rethink, or maybe we can work together at the end of this course to see if there's even a better model that will help people understand maybe the nuances of this, stepwise model here,
Yeah.
So, Pete, I appreciate you bringing that up, man. As a result of like what you're bringing up, you're making me a better person. So I appreciate you, Pete. All right. So I wanted to talk about a very personal example. So like I said, I used to work in a university. I was in that university for 13 years. About eight years I was in multicultural programs, and then they knew that I was leaving, and they gave me a counter offer and said, move over to health promotion and create what it is that you want to create. And I felt very fortunate of doing that, right? So one of the things that started showing up when students were coming into my office was this idea of, hey, I'm not doing well. If I'm to be successful as a student, I have to work my ass off to the bone. And I'm sacrificing my food. I am sacrificing my sleep. I'm not hanging out with my friends. So some of the things that were coming up were, hey, in order to be successful as a student, I need to get rid of other things. I need to sacrifice my health, right? I need to sacrifice my social life. And so what happened, I had the opportunity to be spearheading the university. It's like this health assessment, right? And so one of the things that I found in the health assessment was that when it comes to what was going on at Emory University, our students and staff were languishing more than our aspirational schools that we wanted to be like. We were languishing more than Cornell. We were languishing more than Harvard and Yale. And so one of the things that came up was to make the invisible visible. I shared the findings of this assessment with the entire community. And so what I found was that people would be like, yup, that's exactly how it is. How do I go and support you on this, right? So when I came out and I started talking about how our students, faculty, and staff were languishing, people naturally wanted to be a part of this movement to make it better. So when it came to creating a conscious community, and by the way, this was like over 10 years ago, and I'm not going to try to make it out that I was some strategic badass. I wasn't, but like to share these results and start to create collaborations with campus partners. I remember going to the student government and saying, there's got to be something that we can do about this. I remember going to health services and saying, there's got to be something that we can do about this. Not only are your students languishing, but the staff is languishing. We don't have enough staff to work with the students. And because of that, it's a norm for staff to work weekends and work 12-hour days. And so everything was languishing. Talked about this with my public health students, Emory Healthcare, Residence Life, right? And so when it came to understanding the infrastructure, one thing that I needed to do was this. I needed to get into the university senate and sit with the president and all the folks making the decisions. How did I get into there? Was understanding that if I could get money, they would let me in, right? So they do care about the staff and the faculty. They don't want them to be languishing. But when I went and got the 10,000, then I got a couple other grants, they were like, yo, dude, come on in and let's see what we can do about this, right? So there were more collaborations that I made. I had the University of Georgia had interns, and so I was able to get them their credits for their grad school programs by helping out with this cause, getting the president's office, getting the director of counseling center, the VP of health, all these folks coming through. So what happened? We were able to truly catalyze the change. We created a student group, Flourish Emory. We had Play Emory established. All these folks that were bringing in positive psychology concepts to create this environment in which students were flourishing. I also wanted staff were flourishing as well. I also knew this. This might be hypocritical, but I was burned out, y'all. To start a movement or be a part of a movement in which you are the activation energy for, I was not doing well health-wise. And so I knew that I needed to leave very soon. Education can tend to chew you up and spit you out, And so one of the things that was established were these committees in which we had rotating chairs, being able to have open and online communication with the different departments, right? And so it was probably about a year, 18 months that I left that Emory. Now, I went and checked to see if there was anything that happened when I left. I went and Googled Emory to see if there was anything left of Flourish Emory. And a couple months ago, this is what I found.
Wow.
Designing a flourish, giving about student flourishing.
Yeah.
Student flourishing in the academic experience, right? It's all over the place. Well-being, they're talking about flourishing. First year flourishing seminar, flourishing fellows. And the thing is I didn't see that when I was there. But one of the coolest things is understanding that I got to plant the seed in something that people are taking and running with. And also, I get to create my own university flourishing program called the Joy Revolution. It was a win-win situation. So this week, I want you to think about what is this going to look like? First, to create your movement, make the invisible visible, but start to think about what's going to happen when I'm ready to go to the next project. And maybe this project will be with you for the rest of your life. Or maybe you know that you're a multi-potentialite and you want to focus on this for a couple of years and then you want to go to your next project. My therapist went and said that I'm a church seeder. I like to go and create mega churches, and once it's created, I want to go to the next mega church. So with that said, I'm going to do questions and answers. I want you to think about this idea of how can you, actually, let's open up for a little discussion. How can you make the invisible visible? What's going through your head? Because Revolution Reimagined starts with making the invisible visible.
Can I ask a clarifying question? And
Yeah,
part of it is
absolutely.
like rephrasing in my mind, and I want to see if this is accurate. I am envisioning that making the invisible visible is also identifying the problem. So I guess there's part of and I guess maybe that's also in defining revolution or revolutionary. You have to first see and identify a problem
Yes.
and then make
Yeah.
the appropriate changes. Okay.
Now
And I
what?
really
Okay, go ahead.
oh good. I just really like the invisible visible language because I think a lot of people try to solve the wrong problem or what isn't really the right problem. And so kind of really spending a lot of time here on what is it that's not being said, right? Or what is it that we're trying to hide or bury under the rug? That's the real root issue that is worth
Yeah.
solving.
I love it, Anna. And yes, I did want to drop this out there as well. Striving, folks are burning out. Striving, right? Settling, folks are asking, there's got to be more to life than this, right? So when it comes to making the invisible visible, it's okay to talk about, look, we're not doing well in this right now. We're not doing well, you know, and by all means, that's more than necessary to when you're bringing up a revolution. At least from the nuance here is, it's one thing to be upset. It's another thing, or it's another thing to be emotional about something. But when we rebuild something, hopefully we can rebuild it through that lens of joy. It's okay to take it down and be upset. You know, I think bring this up a lot. It would be toxic positivity if we were just always looking at things that are, being, hey, this is great, y'all. No, it's not. My students were, the number of folks that tried to commit suicide in one semester, we needed to rally around that. And the thing was, is we found data that showed if we can get you to flourish, you're not going to think about suicidal ideation. And not only that, President, if we engage our students in a way that they're flourishing when they leave, when they come back in 25 years and they're millionaires, guess what, President Wagner? They're going to donate to us. They're going to donate to Emory University. So in many ways, being able to navigate through this, you can take it down or you can take some things down or note that things are not going well. Does that help, Anna?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Any other questions about making the invisible visible? Cool. Okay. Now, Anna, this is where things come full circle when it comes to making the invisible visible. And it's this. Have you guys, actually, let me see. Yep. Have you guys read Plato's Allegory of the Cave?
I'm aware of it, but I've not read it.
Okay, cool. So I think that this is one thing to be aware of as you move forward with your joy revolutions and go into that first step, making the invisible visible. And essentially, Plato said it like this. In this allegory of a cave, pretend you are, or there's a group of prisoners, and they're shackled to the cave, and in front of them is a wall, right? A wall of rocks, and behind them there is a light source, right? And so what happens? Images of birds are projected on the walls. Images of birds, images of maybe people, sounds of things that people don't really understand. Maybe a leaf is falling in front of this light source and it's projecting on the wall. Now, what happens? This group of people will look at this wall, and since that's all they've ever known, the bird is real. The bird is the projection on the wall. That is what we need to be talking about. That's what us group of prisoners know, and that's what we talk about 24/7. Now, a person goes and breaks out of that cave. And the thing is, the first thing that happens when they break out of the cave is they've actually never seen the sun. Their eyes are completely disoriented, right? They're confused. They look down and they see, oh, that's what was making the sound. This water. And they go and drink from the water for the first time. They feel the warmth on their skin. It feels exhilarating. They see animals. They see the actual birds. And they come back in to tell the other prisoners there is something better out there. There's something more real out there. Yo, what do you think the prisoners say?
You're crazy.
You're crazy. Exactly. You mean to tell me that this isn't real? The thing that I've grown up, the thing that I've taught to my kids, the thing that my parents taught me and their grandparents talked about, and you're saying that your crazy ass is going to break out and you think that we're going to follow you there? Absolutely not. I don't know. I don't remember how it ended. Like, we're going to expel you from that cave. We're going to kill you. You are fucking bonkers. So when it comes to making the invisible visible, there's an act of courageousness in it. There's an act of courageousness. And so I wanted to commend you because this is the very first step that you're going to take in terms of bringing people together in your joy revolution. Now, folks like Gandhi was able to show new possibilities and bring the British monarchy to its knees using a joy revolution. And I'm not saying that you need to bring any monarchy to its knees, but I want you to consider what you're about to do. And that's why I commend you. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right. So let's go. If we are, I'd like to say that if we are successful creating our joy revolution, we are going to move from the old norm where the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation into this new norm that I talked about last week. Y'all, this is the beginning and the end every single week. Quote, a master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing and leaves others to determine whether he is working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both. From my perspective, that is the result of you guys doing your joy revolutions. That's why I have your back fully in the next couple of weeks, y'all. So I've got a couple questions up here. It's right at 8 o'clock on the dot. The questions are to be answered in the underground. You're going to see, I'm going to email it to you so you don't feel lost in the shuffle. I'm going to do the orientation for you as well. We've got everything in here, insights, right? And so all I want you to do is take advantage of the underground. I've got your back in there. Get used to sharing with each other, have each other's backs. If someone does make the invisible visible and they are treated like the prisoner who got out of the cave, it's important that they understand that this is a part of the process and we've got their back, because sometimes this work can be very lonely, very, very lonely. Okay. I know this is moving fast, y'all. I get it. This used to be 2.5 hour lectures. So like I'm doing the best that I can. So we are at time, but I'm more than happy to stay after and answer any kind of questions that you have.
I do have to get going, but thank you so much, Mark. I really enjoyed it.
I hope
Bye,
that helped, Anna. Will we see you on Thursday?
Is it at the same time?
Yeah.
I might not be able to. I'll try to make it to the daytime one.
Okay. Let us know. Thanks, Anna. Any questions? I saw a lot of your heads going like this.
So
You send
oh, you want to go first, Peter? It's fine.
just a quick question. You send the praxis out by email, right?
Yeah, I'm going to send you stuff by email until we
Okay.
get used to the system.
I
Okay,
realize I
that's
have a
all.
lot to identify here, so I'm just like, I'm just, you know, when you're on the precipice of possibilities, it's frightening and so exciting in the same moment. Like the first
Yeah.
time I went up in a helicopter, one of those bugs, and I had the pilot on one side of my husband, and I was squeezing both their thighs with tears streaming down my face. And it's so frightening and exhilarating at the same moment. And that's what this is to me. So it's
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
I also wanted to throw this out too. You know, like I said, this is I'm trying to not only condense this, but not make it super dense for you. Like, I want this to feel light, but revolution theory is a big deal. Uh, I met with someone in the last cohort, and she wanted to talk in a coaching session, and she apologized to me. And I was like, "Why are you apologizing?" And she was like, "Because like my revolution is just creating one meditation, and like it's not like other people's revolutions." And I think the thing is not only does your revolution light you up, but it can change at least one life. So I'm not trying to say that you need to go and get on the university senate or anything like that. There's some My 5D light body is telling me to say this, Cheryl. It doesn't matter if you're moving a huge boulder or a tiny rock. It's still a revolution, and it still is meaningful to you. And it's meaningful to the person whose life changes as a result of your revolution.
Right.
Is that right, Cheryl?
It's right. And I think when you change yourself,
Yeah.
it has a huge impact on the world.
Yeah.
When you increase your consciousness, that's a huge impact right there. So, what I'm questioning myself. So first of all, I love your energy. I love your passion. Really.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I love like energy. Yes, very much.
Thanks, Cheryl.
What I have a larger something that I'm trying to figure out and not get too wrapped around the axle with it as I can, which is I'm at a certain stage of my life. So I'm 75 years old, and I'm trying to figure out the balance between, my service, whatever you want to say,
Mhm.
and time for me. And yet I get energy from this. And it's just like, what's right for me and what do I want to bring? So that and in this moment, because once I step into it, then I will look around and see what's the next moment. So
Yes,
it's just yeah. So I have an opportunity to think what's next for me, and where's a challenge, a
I
challenge.
love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't talk about this a whole heck of a lot, but I feel like this is an audience where I can bring it up and it might be significant. Um, One of the unspoken things of a joy revolution or any kind of conscious upleveling is shadow work. And so you might feel shadow coming on. And that's part of, yeah, both. Pete's like, I got this shit. But like you might, no, I haven't seen a person who's gone through this experience and been 100% engaged that hasn't um gone into shadow work. And maybe they're thinking twice about something. Maybe something has, is showing up. For me, what shows up every single time is sort of um uh, my belief that I think I'm a stupid person, right? And so just stuff like that. I'm not gonna go into it that much, but that's my own shadow. That's my shit to work on. You know what I mean? And so these
We
things
all
pop
have
up.
something like that.
Right. Exactly. These things pop up. And what's really cool about our community and our beloved small community is we've got each other's backs. And you also have an alumni network that's got your back. And oftentimes when we do need to talk about the shadow, people are like, yeah, that was shitty to go through that, you know. So yeah.
Mhm. Agreed.
You
I
guys already
just
have
want
shadow
to,
work coming up? Got
are you
shadow?
kidding?
Yeah. What what
Every
is
day.
I
what
just
is
want to
stopping
say,
you is what has always stopped you.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
well done, Pete.
yeah. By the way, Cheryl, you look amazing. I was
Yeah.
actually pleasantly pleased because I'm 68. I don't know how old you are, Peter, but obviously we three are. I was surprised that this wasn't going to be a bunch of 20 or 30 somethings. I'm like pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
Mhm.
because, I wrote a book about millennials. Uh, all my nieces, nephews, sons, all millennials. they have a way of being and relating that isn't bad, better, worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
They have a way of, you know, one of the, what are the, you know, invisible, making the invisible visible is when we get to be over 50, how are we viewed by the world? How are we received by the world? We become invisible.
Mm.
I know women who haven't had a date in 10 years. Women over 50 become invisible.
Wow.
So, and women become invisible and men go into this thing where they're set in their ways. If they're still alive, blessings, they don't care anymore. They lose their libido, whatever it is, and they just don't care. So there's this thing going on with, and we call seniors, fuck that word, you know, where we just become like, oh, you're the people who are waiting to die.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I've heard that a lot. I don't feel that way. I don't feel invisible.
Mm.
So it's different for everyone.
I make myself visible. But I know a lot of people that nobody gives a shit about their opinions.
Mm.
Nobody understands that they need a hug, that they need tenderness, or they need to be listened to. If somebody's a little older and God forbid they talk too much, they're just like, you know, all right, we've heard enough out of you. I mean, you know, I assert myself. So personally, for me, Cheryl, nobody treats me like I'm invisible.
Mm.
But I see this with many, many, many others. People who are much more introverted than I am, who still in their older years don't want to make waves or just learned how to just go with the status quo and make nice and be nice. The most important thing is to be nice.
Yeah.
And see, I didn't come into this world to be nice, but a lot of people think that that's why they're here.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
God.
obviously there's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, yeah.
I love that you bring that up, Pradana, as there's a huge difference between nice and kind.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes kind may seem like it's mean or demeaning,
Mm.
but it's often coming from a place of love and care to be able
Right.
to say, Pete, I love you, and this is
Yeah.
what I'm observing.
And
So, yeah.
nice is often passive aggressive.
Mm. Oh my gosh, you guys are insane. I love this.
It works so well.
I y'all, I know that I'm moving fast this material very quickly and just nope, that's being like okay, that's insecure Mark talking.
You're fine.
We
You're
have
fine. And
we
guess
have
what?
replays.
You know,
It's the right pace for me. It's actually the right pace for me.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go twice as fast next week.
Yeah.
Well,
Any other questions?
Yes, don't patronize us because we're
Yeah.
older.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I'm not patronizing you.
I
Y'all
sit
probably
in
didn't even
plenty
know
of
my age,
classrooms.
by the way. You guys don't know my age.
that's
Are you
true.
60?
No.
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you're
Yes.
obviously not a baby.
Mm.
You're not a baby.
Yeah.
I think so.
I could go to those carnivals and where they try to guess your age, and I'd win a lot of those little plushy toys.
Yeah.
47.
Yeah, I was going to say you're
Really?
pushing 50. You're pushing 50.
I would have said in your 40s, but I thought it was on the younger end.
I
Yeah.
look like I'm in my 40s, y'all.
Yeah.
This is worse.
Sorry, honey.
You could tell me anywhere from 30 to early 40s.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
You can tell me
Put your
anywhere.
glasses on to like look at my receding hairline.
Look, I have my one son is turning 40. I have a nephew and a niece who are in their 40s. So, and they all seem to have baby faces
Mm,
and they're in their early 40s. So, and just by your schooling and the things you've done and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Anything else before we close the circle this week?
No.
So we have homework to do,
Yep.
right? Yeah, and then see you Thursday, and
See you
that's it.
Thursday. Yep. I can't do so we have a creative lab alternative time, and you're going to want to use those down the road, right? I'm still taking care of some business here storm wise, so I won't be able to do the creative lab, the earlier one, but I will see you on Thursday, and I will open office hours on Fridays if there's anything
I'm
that
going to have to leave by 6, well, after 1 hour.
Okay.
We start at 5 for me because of where I am.
Got it.
And a friend of mine is having an opening for her new documentary. So
Pete, what's up? I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm finding out there's a lot more on the back end than just the documentary, in terms of sustaining the action.
Got it.
I mean, a documentary is like step 2, creating a conscious community.
There's a lot that goes on, and that's why it makes sense that you're not in a stepwise like revolution. Yours is very organic, and one will inform the other. I can't wait to see it. Y'all, when Pete like debuts his film, can we just all be there in town to just like support him? Like, I'll sort of popcorn at you, Pete.
Oh, wait, where will it be?
Where will it be, Pete?
Well, you want to have it in Mexico?
Come on,
Well,
Pete.
the only distribution channel I've even thought about right now is YouTube, and I don't know how adequate that is.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I mean, that's one way of distributing it. That's one way of distributing it. I don't know about it, whether it's the way to distribute it widely. There's also other private showings and theaters, setting it up through environmental organizations, and having them go out and create showings. I mean, there's a number of different options, but right now the most obvious and easy one, the low-hanging fruit, is YouTube.
Okay. Okay. Pete, because you've basically, it's not a full-on declaration, but because you've already focused on this, I met with somebody today that I'm tossing your way because they're creating an internship around environment, and they're just gung-ho. And I was like, there's a person that I need you to meet. So I'm going to connect you with them.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Y'all, incredible.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Bye.
thanks, everyone.
The homework, what are you going to make? What is the invisible visible? That's all it is. And I'll see you on Thursday. Okay.
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 Okay,
Bye, everyone.
bye.
Bye.